Welcome back to the Block Runner Podcast, episode number 25. I am your host, William, and I'm always here with your man, I-Man.
What's up, guys?
All right.
Good to be back.
Thank you for being here, I-Man. And today we're bringing a special guest. His name is Daniel Garcia. He is the founder and creative director of Polygonal Mind. And so thank you for being here, Daniel.
Hey, thanks for having you here.
Oh, absolutely. So Daniel, you're in Spain right now.
Yep.
I think we got connected via
Maddie, right?
Maddie. Yeah, it was Maddie that connected us, and I guess you've spoken to Maddie before.
Not sure.
Maddie from DCL Blogger.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I talked with him through Twitter, also some Discord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he made a video not too long ago exploring the project you guys are working on in Decentraland.
The escape room.
It's an escape room. It looks like a bunker type experience. So that's how we got turned on to that whole scene.
Yeah. So I think we stumbled upon Decentraland, and then I guess we fell in love with it in a sense.
Yeah, we've been hooked ever since we found out about it. Like 2 months ago?
Yeah, and I think we started doing research on Decentraland. We found Maddie. Mm-hmm. We interviewed Maddie that following week. Mm-hmm. He told us, explained everything. And to keep in mind, when we found Decentraland, you couldn't play it. It was just an idea in a sense. It was just a website, and it was just like concepts and everything.
Yeah.
And so we were talking to Maddie before it actually launched beta, and we were asking him, like, how is this going to look? Like, how is this going to work? Are people actually going to walk around in this space? And,
exactly.
And so we were just completely fascinated. And just, I think like 3 weeks ago, the beta started. Mm-hmm. And then we realized that there was an escape room in Decentraland, which I thought was brilliant because in Decentraland, there's a limited amount of space. Mm-hmm. And so if you take that idea and you apply it in the virtual world, well, then the real world is limited with space. So then you take those ideas and just apply it in the virtual world, then you have a cool escape room. Mm-hmm. So that's how we found you. And I think after a couple of weeks, after our podcast with Maddie, it was like, you guys need to talk to Polygonal Mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And so here you are, Daniel.
Yeah.
So
I guess everyone gets hooked to the Decentraland once you know and learn more about the concept.
No, absolutely. So I want to talk to you about a little bit of kind of your thoughts on Decentraland, and just to go off from like your idea from Decentraland, the ability to be able to own digital assets in the game. How is that different from your previous like experience in making games in the past before? How does that change like how you approach making an asset for a game?
Well, as you know, when you have like NFTs, you have to make just one of each. So I guess the question is like making a way that you can replicate the model and have small changes. But yeah, it doesn't really change much. We usually work with mobile game developers, so we are used to the huge limitations when it comes to make low poly style, which is something that Decentraland needs because every land has like a huge, limitation of polygons. Like it's like only 10K, I think, per land.
Right.
And yeah, so we just took the knowledge we had from the mobile game and trying to apply into Decentraland. And since we didn't have like many lands to try on, we just took the one we had and see like if we could do something interesting in just one land. That's how the escape room idea came up.
No, that's brilliant. Like I said, it's Decentraland kind of forces you to kind of think inside the box within the limitations. Mm-hmm. And escape room is just it's really smart because you're taking advantage of those limitations as best you can. So Daniel, what's your background and history with cryptocurrencies? Are you into Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that?
To be honest, I started to be more interested in the crypto when I learned more about Decentraland.
Yeah.
Like you guys, I started like a few months ago. Well, for me, it was like November last year or something when I started to know more about this. Then I figured out that there was not enough developers yet to the field. And also I found out that our art style could fit into the Decentraland and could also stand out. So I thought that it was like really cool concept and we could like start working on. So we started to have clients who wanted some development on their lands, like private landowners.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then those clients started to offer us to pay on crypto. And that's when I thought like, okay, this is not something.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a joke anymore. People is paying me to do my work in crypto, so I should learn more about it. And you know, you start googling, you start researching something, and then you just use it like every day. It's
Okay,
I
so
guess you have like how to say it. It's difficult in the beginning. You have this way of thinking that maybe cryptocurrencies are only for hackers or some
yeah,
weird, people or just brokers.
yeah.
But then you start to see that you can use it every day and actually you can save money instead of using bank payments, for example.
That's so true because there's a lot of talk on the differences between fiat currency and cryptocurrency. In that crypto it encourages you to save money, and fiat encourages you to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel, what's your experience in terms of like getting paid in crypto? Has it been a frictionless experience, as you know it's supposed to be designed that way?
Um, I guess the hardest part is like if you never get into exchange, it's just sitting down and seeing that it's just numbers. It's not that you're losing or betting all your money when you see like green and red numbers going on all the time. Just
Sure.
try to be focused only on the few tasks that you can really do. But um, the thing is, I had to figure out a way to get my money into euros.
I see.
And if you, for example, you get paid in mana, you will have to exchange it for Ethereum. Then
Mm-hmm.
you buy euros. Or if you want to have dollars, the same, but with dollars. It's just that kind of thing that you have to like, okay, so I have this currency, how can I make it euros? Or I have euros, how can I like transfer to this guy the amount he wants? Once you have that and just you do it a couple of times, it just becomes very easy. It's like just your
Yeah,
account.
it's just a new step that you have to take in order to pay the bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
your phone company is not going to take mana for payment, so you're gonna
no,
have to change it.
Well, they could always
yeah, of course.
exchange it out, right? Like, if there's a wallet that's
Yeah.
properly built to seamlessly convert mana to
Sure.
Bitcoin, or
That's
like
true.
an automated process or something like that, it can make it easier.
That brings up a good question, Daniel. Do you use like BitPay or any of the crypto quote unquote processors that do the transfer for you? Have you thought about that?
We just use MetaMask and then go to Coinbase, and then from Coinbase just do your wrapping out.
Yeah,
Okay.
simple enough.
So I guess I'm just assuming that your clients. I would say a small percentage of your clients pay in crypto. The rest of your clients pay in fiat currency in euros.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, the clients that are not related to the Decentraland
Yeah,
are
Okay.
paid in dollars or euros or whatever.
yeah. Let's talk about
But
those.
yeah, sure.
So, what's the main platform you guys are designing for? Virtual reality platform that's out there besides Decentraland.
Uh, well, we last year we made the challenge of making 100 characters in 100 days,
Uh huh.
Mhm.
and then this is a Instagram challenge I made. So the thing is, we thought like, okay, what can we do with these 100 characters we have just on our hard drive with nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't you just like make it? Can transform this into avatars. So we started to rig them and uploading them into VR chat. And then the
Mhm.
guys on VR chat were like very excited about it, and then we said, okay, let's try to upload it in more places, and that's what we are doing. We were trying to have these characters and uploading in everywhere. Like if you have a rig, a model rig,
Mm-hmm.
you can easily do it in different platforms. Each one has like a few steps until you upload something.
Mm-hmm.
So once you learn it, once you try it a couple of times, it's just very easy. You can just write it down and handing to someone to do it for you.
Interesting. So, in the 100 avatars in 100 days, that's funny. I did 100 cryptocurrencies in 100 days, and I failed. I only got up to like 86.
Yeah.
And
Pretty close.
It was close. It was very close. The thing with 100 things in 100 days for Instagram is you're trying to optimize Instagram's algorithm, because if you post on a daily basis, your interactions and Instagram shares your post to more people the more often that you post. So that's sort of kind of like the idea in Instagram. Were you able to complete your 100 avatars?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they all exist in VR chat today?
Yeah, for now, yes. I think they are only available in VR chat. We are trying to upload it into Neo's VR. I think we will release it. The thing is, by the end of the year, we will release them as open source avatars, so anyone can just upload it into their platform. So let's say tomorrow someone creates, another platform and wants to have some content, they can just get those avatars and upload them themselves. That's the idea. But how to say that? We want to also we saw that most of the characters that are available for people are anime characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, most of them are anime.
Yeah.
And there are some people that is against that. Like, I don't like anime. I mean, I like it, but there's people that doesn't like that. So they are trying to look for other stuff. And there is like a huge gap of things that you can do, and people is not still developing characters for that.
So are these avatars on Unity, or what engine are you using?
Yeah.
They're Unity?
Yeah, to upload them into VR chat, you have to use Unity.
Okay.
They are all rigged with Mixamo, which is also pretty common standard for creating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you want to know how we did it, we use ZBrush and then use Maya and then just use Mixamo for the rigging.
Interesting.
So it's not that you only do them into Unity. The Unity is like the last step into uploading into a platform.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
So you're pretty much neutral when it comes to all these platforms, because I've noticed, I just discovered one this morning actually called Somnius Space, I believe is what it's called.
Somnium Space.
Yeah. So yeah, there's several. VR chat, I think, was one of the original concept VR worlds that I heard of that has a huge community, very active, a lot of big player base that's uses the actual virtual reality, hardware to play the game.
Right.
So where do you see the virtual reality space as it stands today? Maybe comparing it to how the video game industry started back in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, what phase do you think this industry is currently at, and where can it go?
For me, I think we are in the 80s of the game development.
That's hilarious.
Just arcade. Like, when the thing is, for now, the hardware is a bit expensive for everyone, and also you need like real space in your house or real space wherever you want to play.
Yeah.
So I think this is an arcade mode. Like, almost of the experience that people displaying are just like one match and repeat. Like, let's say Beat Saber, or for example, I'm playing a game that is called In Death. That every time you play, you spend like 50 minutes and then you die, and then you can. It's like a short time experience, and I think that's pretty interesting because people is not realizing that we can make VR arcades again a real thing into real life. China is already doing it, and how to say it? I think there's enough people paying attention to that. Like, we are in the arcade mode, not like in the beginning of the arcade mode. I believe in the next few years we will be seeing arcades into the cities, like VR arcades that people will go there and hang out and try to beat the score between each other. Like, I don't know if you guys play Dance Dance Revolution, but
yes.
there is you know that you have to go to the arcade to play it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you will have like a hangout person and people playing out over there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think in the next few years we will see that with Beat Saber and also with other competitive games.
Interesting. Yeah.
that's when I think people is going to learn more about VR and see it as a normal thing, and later on those two steps it will become mainstream. But we're still in the phase of like uh, spreading awareness about VR.
So Daniel, I'm not sure. I don't know if you can answer this, but I've always wondered in the difference between a VR world and a virtual world. Just like, let's say you're playing on a computer game,
Like World of Warcraft.
like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So my question is, why is a virtual reality world require much more processing power than a game like WoW or a game like Crisis
or like Rust or
Halo? Like, why does it require more power to run a VR game than just a regular game?
Okay, so when you play a real game, just let's say World of Warcraft, okay, just running into one screen, right?
Okay.
The thing is, when you use VR, you're using two screens, one from
True.
each side, so you need a double power. And I'll also add that you need like a high computer to run most VR games because they are trying to like only running in high-end devices. That's why now we are starting to see Oculus Quest, for example, that is a very powerful device that, okay, you have maybe visual limitations, but the freedom without the cable is just powerful enough to just don't care about high-end looking shit.
So okay, so now you have two screens, and each screen has to run at high frame rates because
Yeah,
if you run at below 20 frames per second, you get this motion sickness from virtual reality.
Yeah.
And so if you up the frame rate, it becomes more smoother, and therefore you can actually move linearly in the game without getting sick.
Yeah.
Because I've seen early on in virtual reality that as soon as you put that headset on and then you just move forward in the game, people instantly get sick just because their visual feedback to the brain is not compatible with what's actually happening on the screen. And so that makes a lot more sense now. I don't know why I've always had this question, but it makes a lot of sense. There's two screens. Each screen is running at least 120 frames per second. That's on the minimum side, right? You want more like 240 frames per second.
Also, like, don't the input or the output that the user generates by the movement that they create, isn't that also a bigger, more so than a mouse and a keyboard, right?
That's
Isn't
true.
that also a bigger requirement as far as computation goes? Or
no, that's a good point. Yeah, because now you're not only tracking the individual player in the game, but you're tracking like all these points, fingers, and like feet and stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. So in the is there a difference between creating content for virtual reality than it is creating content for like a regular game, like avatars and so forth?
yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're just creating like a model and everyone can use it, but both in just regular games and VR. But if you're looking into having like a proper gameplay or also like a compelling environment that can be used, you have to think about how the person is going to see it inside the game. So the thing is, for example, when you create a game, you can just run with your avatar freely and check out very easily. But when you create a VR experience, you have to put your headset and see that if you're in sync.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
With the world or in sync with your idea, and
So-
I guess it takes a bit longer.
So this is like basically a different testing mechanism, right? You just don't test your avatar by just pointing and clicking around. You have to actually put the headset on and see if it works, and then whatever content that you're creating for your game in the VR world, you have to go into the VR world and like walk around it. Let's say you're making a virtual car. You have to get in and walk around it just to make sure that the perspectives are correct, the height is correct,
Exactly.
and you won't get the same feedback just on a computer screen, right? It just loses that fact.
yeah.
I guess you can entrain yourself to eventually,
Right.
But eventually you'll have to use your headset, because if you're making a VR experience, it makes no sense that you are not using VR.
Yeah.
It's like if you're developing for mobile and you don't test it on your phone, it
No,
doesn't make sense.
absolutely. What about those creation tools where you put the headset on, but you can create within the game? Like there's these drawing tools and
Yeah, I use them. I use SteelBrush, which is like the most famous one.
yeah,
Uh, they're fun. I mean, you can. We use them as SketchUps, like trying to do concepts, and then you can export them and use and then build on top of them. That's something cool.
yeah.
I also try those ones that can do 3D polygonal 3D, but I was not very happy about them because they were a bit clunky.
Yeah.
They were still not.
It's not granular
Uh,
enough, right? You can't get that fine detail when you're moving your hand. Like if it would be different if VR could track your fingers and your slight movements, and you can probably get that fine detail that you would on a mouse or with a pen and a Wacom tablet. But I think you're right. I think the best use case for like in virtual reality creation mechanisms or systems is for sketching, kind of like we built 3D printers today. It's really just a mock-up of a 3D device in the real world. That way you can send that to a manufacturer and say, okay, make this in metal, cast this in metal. And so they have a better idea of what to make. So that's really cool. One of the things that I was curious about is the ability. So I like to look at things in like superpowers. Like for example, if you can code, if you're a developer, that's probably one of the biggest superpowers there are in the world. Just because you can make anything that you want, right? An application, a video game, you can make an exchange where you're doing funds trading and all kinds of crazy stuff with coding. And so I think another superpower is design, is being able to create things, and put them in a game or put a great user interface. So I think now with blockchain, that superpower of design is actually much more powerful than it was before, simply because of NFTs.
Yeah.
So once, like for example, they sold that Formula One car for like $100,000. I mean, someone like you, Daniel, could have designed that car, and that design could have been sold for $100,000. Now I don't know too much about like your history of transactions. But I would imagine that if you create a virtual car and it gets sold for $100,000, you're doing pretty well, right?
Yep, yep. I guess it will depend. Let's say you spend 3 months making those NFTs,
Yeah.
and you have like a team of 5, and then 100.
$100,000 not a whole lot.
It's not that much.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you
a good
only
point.
sell that one, right? But I guess those guys will have sold all of them.
No, that's a good point. It's like the crypto kitties. I would imagine it doesn't take a whole lot of design experience to make those little cats, but those cats are being sold for thousands of dollars. So that was a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, I don't think they expected whenever they're creating and designing these NFTs. There's no way to predict, the virality
attraction.
of it.
True.
Whether or not something's going to take off or not, right? That's determined by the market. I guess that's the new concept that's being introduced with this whole blockchain merging with the video game industry. I assume
True.
there's other platforms out there with Engine, and there's a few others as well where people like Daniel can create unique products in these virtual worlds. But it also opens up an experience for gamers to no longer are we going to spend hours just playing a video game for no reward, right?
Right.
Like we can actually earn unique items that have true value assigned to them, and they're exchangeable. So
yeah, and somebody who doesn't play a game can actually buy that asset that you earned in that game, that NFT asset. Which to me, that's when you were growing up, Daniel, did you play a lot of video games?
Yep, I played a huge amount of hours to World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
have you been playing the Classic WoW that came out last week?
I don't play World of Warcraft anymore.
No more time. Good idea. Stay away from it.
Yeah.
And I know if I grab that game, I will spend in like the next 3 months just playing it.
Exactly.
Maybe just 3 months. So I just can't afford that anymore. Yes, I can't.
Yeah.
I can report to you, yeah, it's just as addicting as it was 15 years ago. It's
Yeah,
just as
yeah.
awesome.
The thing is, I was how to say it? I was a hardcore player back in Vanilla WoW. I
yeah.
used to raid the extra mass at the end,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
was exhausting. Then I went to Burning Crusade, and I also spent a huge amount of hours being a paladin in the horde.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just started to slowly playing less and less and less. But because for me, the best rates in the game were when there was 40 people in it.
Oh, of course.
That
was
I'm guessing if I play again, I will be extremely addicted to it. So just stay away from it.
Yeah, I think the beauty of the game, what people are just now, because the video game industry has gotten so greedy, and so they're maximizing profits over game experience, right? But back in the day, the reason why WoW was so revolutionary was the community aspect of that game.
Yeah.
But nowadays, games are more focused on selling mobile products or like microtransactions with loot boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is a big gray area these days.
So has the game changed in that in from a monetizing standpoint? The classic WoW, has it added loot boxes and any of that stuff?
No, it's the exact same game.
It's the exact same game.
Just copied the code from the original game and just relaunched it on new servers, essentially.
So hold on. So let me understand. So it's the exact same game. Like the visuals haven't even been upgraded.
I think there was a small upgrade in the visuals, but it's the same game. Like all the patches that are being released are coming in the same order as they did in 2004. Everything's the same.
Wow, that's shocking, dude.
Stay away, Daniel.
Yeah.
It's like a drug. It really is.
I know. It's like a drug, man. Let me tell you, the main reason that I'm talking with you guys right now is because I play that fucking game. Yes, because when I started playing it, like in 2004, it was only in English. There was no Spanish translation to the game.
Oh, that's
I had
crazy!
To play
the
fucking game with a dictionary next to my keyboard.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because back then the internet was super slow, and someone called you're fucked.
Yeah.
You couldn't just Google it as easy as right now. So I had to play with a dictionary and try to understand the other guys talking to me because I was addicted to the game, and I figured out that it was a multiplayer game, and I don't know, it's just too much.
No, that obviously attracted you to the virtual reality space that you're in today too. I feel like because there's so many correlations. World of Warcraft, I think, is one of the biggest virtual experiences that humanity's created.
I can believe it.
That communal aspect that it was. It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't tried it.
I have not tried it, Daniel. I think when it first came out, I think I was starting college, so I was like, my mind was like somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid. I failed too many exams. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was 14 when the game was released.
Yeah,
so,
me too. Same age. So you're about 29, 30, something like that.
Yeah, 29 in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Sure. So we kind of understand using World of Warcraft as like a baseline of what do you want to call it? I don't want to call it addiction, but immersion. Like that is the perfect example of a game that created an immersive universe for players to really get hooked into, and in many cases prioritize their online experience over their real life existence. You know what I mean?
Right.
So virtual reality is the next step, the next phase of that.
See, I would agree with that. I think that there's a phase before that. I think that's going to really take over. Imagine. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, Daniel, is imagine all that time you spent playing WoW back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That time spent had earned you NFTs.
Yeah.
Where those NFTs could have been reused right now in this new game, right? Well, rehashed, same game.
You remember Thunder Fury, the blessed...
Yeah, of course. I remember one guy in my server back in the day sold his account for $10,000.
Oh,
damn.
I mean, the thing is, NFTs bring like fair trade to items, it doesn't mean that it's new. People was buying items
That's a
back
good
in
point.
Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, and they were already doing market with them. The thing is that you are not doing clear transactions and safe transactions.
So
Because
I totally agree. You're absolutely right. You could have still sold your account for, like you're saying, $10,000. I think there's an added factor when it comes to NFTs from a developer's perspective.
Yeah.
That item that you're talking about may only exist 1 or 2 units of in the entire game.
Yeah, well, there are items like that in World of Warcraft. They're called what were they called? They're orange.
They're
legendaries.
Legendary.
And they're
Okay.
very, very rare.
Yeah, but see, that's artificial scarcity, meaning the developers have put an artificial constraint within the game, and there's only so many of those items.
Yeah.
But when you put NFTs into or put NFT functionality into a game, there's not artificial scarcity. There is actual scarcity. There's only 2 of those items in the whole game, and so from a developer's perspective, you're putting extreme amount of value in an asset that you're creating, and once the user who happens to win this or earn this or by random roll, get this item, I mean, that's going to be extremely valuable. And then once you put that into a market like what's that NFT exchange? OpenSea, yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
Once you put it at OpenSea, then you can see the true market value of that asset.
Yeah.
I mean,
And with interoperability, it can be, good in one game or the next.
Yeah, exactly.
You can play with, that sword can be just as valuable in another game.
Yeah, and we were having this conversation where that one valuable sword that's really good in WoW, I mean, you could put that sword, as a developer, you could take that NFT and put that sword on top of a car for your racing game, just as for the looks.
Yeah.
And the notoriety that you have the one sword that everybody's looking for in WoW. But, things like that could break the game because you're the only one who can have it, and, it depends. But I have a feeling that kids growing up now and right now NFTs are not really prevailing in video games, but once they are, kids growing up now playing the next generation of WoW with NFTs, they're gonna be earning actual currency, cryptocurrency, in a sense that you won't have that feeling of time spent and lost in a video game anymore.
Yeah, no longer will parents chastise their kids. Who knows, a parent or a kid could get an item and pay off their parent's mortgage.
That's exactly right.
One day, it's a possibility, right? That hasn't been there
it's
before.
a possibility. Yeah.
So do you think we're gonna get there to that point?
I don't know. Maybe yes. The thing is, for example, now I'm playing a lot of time VR and VR chat, and I'm trying to play immersive games in VR. And I found out, for example, in VR chat, there are these small communities that behave very similar to the communities that I saw behaving in World of Warcraft when I was a kid.
Yes.
So I'm seeing these kids spending a lot of time into VR, right? So this kid as 14, 15, 12, the same age that I got hooked into World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you are a kid and you got hooked into World of Warcraft VR. It's just you're going to just go bananas. Go
it's
crazy
over.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, virtual reality can be really immersive.
Oh yeah.
I think it will bring some new questions like, who are you? If you're people will be spending more time into other realities than real life.
I haven't
so
really.
Eventually, people will be will be thinking if real life is actually real. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I haven't really thought about that though, Daniel. The philosophical standpoint from a virtual reality game. If you spend that much time in a virtual reality as a WoW game, your identity becomes that character now.
Oh yeah.
So you have less incentive to be outside in the real world where you're not as powerful, cool, or interesting.
I mean, it happened to me when I was a kid. I prefer to stay at home playing my Warlock than just going out and having beers with everyone.
Yeah.
So imagine if now the Warlock is in your headset and you just can play all the time and spending all the time into this game. So this is like a new level of immersion that we are seeing. So
See, and
eventually, people just, I think some of them will have trouble like figuring out if real life is not
Yeah,
something anymore.
it's a bigger deal now because, excuse me.
but also you got to keep in mind this phenomenon, this is really a social
Yeah.
phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's not going to be
Yeah.
limited just to video games either.
No, that's
Yeah,
true.
of course, that's the thing. People is looking at video games because video games are spectacular and are like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
very, but it's actually less in part of VR is having immersion. I mean, you, people is using it for teaching maths. They are teaching
Yeah.
for teaching. VR is going to be the best tool you can have.
Yeah,
Also,
for
you
sure.
will have meeting rooms. Like, for example, we could be now hanging
Yeah.
out in.
That's true.
That'd
We
be
could have
cool,
our own
man.
avatars. We'd be chilling in our own room.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of watching the screen. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's
it's going to be huge in different ways.
Yeah, it's a bigger deal. This is an
It's-
actual concern because when you start confusing your identity with this virtual world, which it may not be such a bad thing in a sense because it could encourage a higher self-worth when you have a game like that. But the kind of the scary thing about this is that the player in that virtual world could be earning actual money playing that game.
Exactly.
And so there's even a more incentive to be in that world because you can earn money versus the real world where it's potentially more difficult to earn money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envision the end game of by building real economies into virtual reality worlds where every player is going to be banking and rolling in Lamborghinis.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
It'll be just like how video gaming is today. Only the hardcore players will get that reward, but the incentive is there.
Yeah.
Like you said, like kids these days, I guess the incentive is to top leaderboards essentially, or be first to a goal. Be the first guy to rock that full armor set, right? That's the incentive structure. To get the in-game glory and the social. It's the same rules that apply to real life are in the virtual life. The same social structure.
Yeah, that's the thing. The thing that you spend a lot of time into virtual reality world, it doesn't mean that you're not learning useful skills that you can use in your real life.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, I learned how to speak English. I learned. Eventually, I became the officer of warlocks, and then the officer of paladins, and I was like having responsibilities and learning how to manage a team, how to they should behave in
So
face
such a
of
good
every
point.
monster. So it's like you're learning how to roll, how to do things that you will later on use in your life.
That's a good
Because when
point.
you're learning teamwork after all, and that's very important skill, I think.
And even something like that a huge piece of education that lacks, at least here in the United States, as far as our education, is financial knowledge.
Oh yeah.
And in games like World of Warcraft, you learn how to manage your finances real quick.
That's the thing. I mean, back in the day in World of Warcraft, you had brokers, like people who will just spend a huge amount of hours in front of the acting house, redoing value of all the items just so they can earn more gold and then sell those gold.
Exactly.
So,
Wow.
I mean, I spend that time. I know that people is doing it in a way more immersive way than I am.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So they had brokers kind of like assess value of like armor and
Well, it's like an auction, right? It's an auction house. So
it's an action house. I mean, you can speculate with whatever you want. For example, you can buy linen cloth, all the linen cloth in the acting house, and then you repost it, all that you got for an expensive price. So the next one who's going to buy is only going to find your linen cloth. This
interesting
value. So it was already happening. I mean, it's not new. NFTs are not new. It's just another level of way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people attribute the creation of Bitcoin to World of Warcraft in a way.
Do they really?
I do. As a World of Warcraft, just the idea of getting human beings familiar with the idea of a digital currency.
Oh, for sure.
Like World of Warcraft. I mean, there's other games.
Yeah, there's been prototypes to virtual currencies before, like
before
gold and
Bitcoin.
before Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, Bitcoin is it's gonna take a while for the mass,
Yeah.
the mainstream to adopt it. But gamers,
We're okay with it.
we're cool with it.
Yeah, sure.
we value gold pretty highly,
Yeah.
especially if you're really into that game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember growing up, playing Nintendo, playing NES. There was a lot of words that I didn't know. I mean, my first language was Spanish, by the way, and I learned English going to school. But
Yeah.
a lot of the vocabulary that I learned was from video games.
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
what I didn't know what select meant. I didn't know what ammo was.
yeah,
I didn't know ammo was short for ammunition.
True.
There's a lot of vocabulary in video games that that teach players, these new words.
yeah,
And then not only that, I mean, you take that to the next level, the economy of a game.
yeah.
It
That's a big
teaches
one.
it teaches you how to earn,
How to save.
how to save, and then purchase. Like you can't just purchase everything any time that you want, right?
Exactly.
It starts instilling these values into the gamer.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm pro gaming all the way.
Oh yeah, of course.
Obviously. But there are some people who have died playing video games, right? But that's an extreme case, right? That's like extremely rare.
I mean, there's always going to be people who dies of an excessive of something.
Yeah.
You can die of just drinking water if you just
They
true.
drink too much water.
It's true.
It's just. I mean, when I was a kid, I played World of Warcraft 72 hours in a row. Never repeated it ever again because it was just so painful.
Yeah.
So if you see that it's like something that you want to enjoy and just die playing, I mean,
Yeah.
it's up to you, right? It's not like a huge problem in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously gaming is going to go to another level with virtual reality, but blockchain, I think that it has our attention at the moment. And with blockchain, I see one of the things I discovered, I moved all my cryptocurrency from exchanges to a ledger just recently.
Uh-huh.
And I discovered a couple of things that of the big cryptocurrencies, they exist in the ledger in an interface where I can know my entire portfolio. But that's only one aspect in crypto. What I learned was crypto is really about the functionality of programmable money. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, in an EOS token, you can use that to stake and get RAM and CPU usage of the network.
Yeah.
That isn't exactly obvious when you're just looking at the number of EOS tokens in a wallet, right? You don't necessarily know. So to know that, you have to do a bunch of research.
Yeah.
And then once you do that research, you have to download the EOS wallet in order to enable that functionality. And so what I learned was that, like you were saying, Daniel, this video games or virtual realities in the 80s of video games right now, cryptocurrencies is not even, it's barely in the early 90s of the internet, because it is definitely not easy to use cryptocurrencies at all.
Yeah.
And the whole point of cryptocurrencies is that new programmable functionality that does not exist in regular currency. And to use that functionality, you have to go download the EOS wallet, you have to go download the Link wallet, you have to download all these wallets. You have 10 wallets open. And you to see how much EOS you have to open that wallet, plug in your hardware device, and see how many EOS.
Yeah.
You have to do the same thing for all these other wallets. So we're still in the extremely early stages, and I think what gets us excited about Decentraland is that we're in the same exact early stage. And I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when I was growing up and the internet was first starting to come out and be used, I feel like I missed the boat on participating on the internet and going, making a startup company that, ended up selling for $100 million just because I was too young. But now that we're able to take advantage of, cryptocurrencies and blockchain and right now Decentraland, I feel like this is our internet. This is our chance to like make an impact. So I feel like, with the virtual world, like in the 80s, that actually excites me. Because we're the ones creating the new foundations, the new standards, and new stuff. So that's kind of how I see things. I don't know, what your thoughts are on all that, Daniel.
Yeah, of course. About virtual reality, yes, we're in the 80s. About being in the 90s of the internet, I don't know. The thing about blockchain is that it's going to be like the internet. everyone is going to use it, but not everyone is going to know how it actually works.
It's
Like
true.
if you ask a random folk around the street if they know how the internet works or what is a cloud,
Yeah,
they will just tell you they don't know. They're just using it and they just don't know what really is going on behind the screen. So
that's a good
I think
point.
blockchain is going to be the same. People is going to be using it even though they don't really understand it or how it works, because it's actually a it's a bit complex concept that you have to grasp and pay a bit of attention to learn about it. And if you see like it's a really extremely difficult thing, you are not going to
Yeah,
have these
absolutely.
people learning it. It's like the internet. The thing is, I think right now in the blockchain industry, there's only programmers who are making this thing that is very useful, but there are not many designers giving a functionality, a pleasing-looking functionality for the wider audience.
Sure.
For
Yeah.
if you want to use crypto, you will have to. Okay, maybe Coinbase made this easier for just buying Ethereum or Bitcoins,
Right.
but there is still a lot of friction between other cryptos, other cryptocurrencies, and I imagine, for example, my girlfriend or my mom trying to buy
Yeah.
Ethereum
Right.
and try to have a use of it, and they will just like, why should I use Ethereum for anything?
No,
It's nothing
absolutely.
for me.
I think that's the difference between like us making comparisons with the impact of the internet and how
Yeah.
blockchain is going to impact the world, because the internet didn't really actually disrupt anything. If anything, it improved everyone's lives. But blockchain and cryptocurrencies is really going to have a disruptive effect
Oh,
on
absolutely.
finance,
Absolutely.
on just
Of course, but the internet was necessary. I mean, we are
yeah.
underestimating the power of the internet.
Oh no, 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 no. Yeah, it was incredibly powerful. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
it changed everything.
It connected the world essentially.
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's not like the
The interaction between humans
yeah.
will change fundamentally with blockchain and cryptocurrency simply because, for example, fiat, we live on the foundation of fiat, which is basically money that is literally printed out of thin air, and there's infinite fiat.
Yeah.
And so once you change that paradigm into a cryptocurrency where there's no infinite Bitcoin, right? There is no infinite of these coins.
Mm-hmm.
You change how we interact with each other and how our financial systems work.
Mm-hmm.
So with the internet, it just changed how we communicate with each other. Instead of making phone calls, we use email, text message, things like that, which is equally as powerful. But I think it's not as foundational and important as how we manage our financial system.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's from what I'm starting to pick up with blockchain. I think it is important, that since we're so early in the kind of the development of blockchain and the development of virtual reality, is that since we're that early, we get to set the ground rules, the groundwork. Kind of like whenever the internet started, it was PCIP. You have to know IP addresses in order to go to a website and all that stuff. Once it becomes easier, there's going to be mainstream adoption, but we are definitely far away from that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even. I thought we were closer. We're not that close because, like you were saying, Daniel, like using Coinbase is very easy, right? You download the app, you put in your ID. It's pretty good. The problem with Coinbase is that they hold your private keys.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get hacked, you lose your money. Yeah, there's insurance, but the point of crypto is that we become our own banks.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the point, then we got to find easy ways for us to become our own banks
Mm-hmm.
and still use the functionality of programmable money without having to understand what a blockchain is and what mining does and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I feel like we're extremely far away from that.
Yeah.
yeah. The thing about crypto is the thing most important thing that I think is going to change is that it's going to change the value of the stuff. Like
Yeah.
the way we see stuff, the value we can give to a cup of glass can change because now maybe it's an NFT glass in the real life. Yeah, this is still very early. We will see a lot of people just trying to know new things in the next few years, and we are still far away to have like a mainstream use. But
Yeah.
I don't think we're like that far away for seeing companies starting to use blockchain to improve their services.
Yeah,
So as
that's
I meant, people will use these services without
sure.
knowing there is blockchain behind it.
I think it was in July or was it June where they had the the E3 conference where all the video games companies get together, and I watched a lot of it, and I was surprised that I think blockchain was only mentioned one time, like the word once,
Yeah.
the entire conference,
Yeah.
and I have to assume that these companies are at least dabbling into blockchain and NFTs and all that stuff. But I was surprised that there was only one mention, and it was not a huge deal. So do you think the gaming industry is going to have a blockchain kind of foundation in maybe most of the games, or at least a good percentage of them, Daniel?
Not anytime soon, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of companies are looking into cryptocurrencies because they can add more value to their items, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And that's something that if uh, the thing is with crypto, I see in the future that maybe you just can buy a cryptocurrency of a game, and then you drop this game, and you can interchange the money that you had in this game into your future game.
Yeah.
So you will never be losing time playing between games because you will always have value into the stuff you're earning all the time.
That's
And
right.
that's something that video game developers are, I'm sure they're aware of. Like uh, the thing is, if you drop like the crypto or blockchain work into the E3, people is going to just look another way because I think the gamers are still not
Hmm.
prepared or to see that there can be value on top of this.
Yeah. That's true. I would imagine the average gamer doesn't really understand NFT tokens and the value that that could bring to kind of their gaming experience.
But like you
Yeah,
said, if you could just keep all that lingo and all that technical stuff
Yeah.
in the background, and
Yeah.
you just pitch to your community or your player base that,
Yeah.
hey,
You can actually trade this.
you can explain it simply to and get people interested just by saying, what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
No longer are these items you're earning in game
Not-
valueless.
Absolutely. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about. It's like not everybody knows how credit card transactions work.
Yeah.
So just to give you a little bit of my background, Daniel. So my background, I started a company that was focused on credit card transactions and securing those credit card transactions. So I had a complete understanding of how credit card transactions work, and it is extremely complicated for no reason, right? It literally there's no reason it needs to be that complicated. But when I was pitching this idea to investors and clients and so forth, they didn't even know how credit card transactions work, and not well forgetting the investors, but the clients themselves who were supposed to know, they didn't even know. And so it's to get virtual reality or blockchain to a point where it can be pitched without explaining what a blockchain is. We're very far away from that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the revelation that I had in the last couple of days.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, for sure. I think the first people who will jump in will be hardcore players from games like
Yeah,
World
like
of War. If World of
Decentraland.
Warcraft tomorrow says that it's going to open an action house in crypto, a lot of people will start to learn more about it and be more pronounced to be open to crypto and blockchain.
Yeah, yeah,
And just like in World of Warcraft back in the day, the hardcore players were the one who were investing more time into it and learning all these techniques to uh, get gold. You know, so uh, I think that you will need people who want to spend and invest time into learning it, or some kind of you have to have a purpose. I didn't care about cryptocurrencies until I have to get paid
yeah.
by
That's
a
true.
client. So because I didn't saw any reason to use it before that. So I guess all the people will have that same issue. Like I don't have to use it. Or why should I learn about
No,
this? So why
absolutely.
should I
Like,
care about this? But let's say tomorrow Blizzard games in and say, okay, from tomorrow on, cryptocurrencies are in the game. So there's a huge game amount of community that will have to learn about this shit if they want to keep playing, or if they want to keep being competitive. And those who will be like the first learners, and then they will spread out into more games and more communities.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. I think when you're running a company, you're not necessarily going out and just trying to learn about all the new developments out in the world. Not until
No.
your clients are asking you to say, "Hey, can you do this NFT, avatar for me?" It's like, well, what is an NFT? Then you got to do a bunch of research, and it's like, oh, this is actually very valuable. I got to learn this because there's a market emerging here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what I see with Decentraland is that so we're extremely early on in Decentraland, and I think with what Decentraland could bring kind of to the gaming community is going to be, I think, more powerful than what previous games had, at least from its standpoint of what players can do within a game. Because typically, when you jump into a game, you can't really earn any money, like real money. You can earn virtual money that's just within the game, but in this case, in Decentraland, you can earn like actual currency, right? Real money. And so I think that new functionality is going to bring a different perspective on gaming, and I think that functionality is going to start applying into a lot of games and eventually maybe all the games. But that's how I see things. So has cryptocurrency like changed your perspective in how you're going to kind of traverse this world of like gaming and development and all that? Like, does it really affect your bottom line, or is that just another tool in your tool set?
It's just another tool. You have to see it as another tool and another thing that can grip or cannot grip onto technology. The thing is, I've been always involved into high risky technologies and high risky industry. So it's just another thing that can work or can work in a different way that you were expecting it to
Sure.
work. So I think we will see how it ends. For now, for me, it's a tool that I can use uh, to, for now, get paid, for example, or
Yeah.
pay to some freelancers. For example, now I'm trying to convince out of crypto clients to get into crypto because I basically told them that they will save money, and they were like, "Oh, how can I save money? I like that, you know."
Yeah.
The thing is, if you tell people that using crypto transactions you can save money, they all pay attention. Like,
Yeah.
oh, really? How can I avoid paying the bank for his stupid fees? You know? And
Yeah, because I would imagine your clients are not all in Spain, right?
no, we don't have any clients in Spain.
Yeah. So doing a bank-to-bank transfer outside the country is such a pain in the ass. It's unbelievable. It's like
Yeah.
the credit card industry and doing a credit card transaction. Once you swipe or dip that card, it touches so many companies that it's ridiculous. And it's the same with bank-to-bank transfers, right? When you send money from the United States to Spain, it goes into a middle bank, a middleman bank, from bank to a middle bank to the actual bank. It's nonsense. So now you're right. If you're telling your clients, hey, if you just use Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, it's person to person transaction. I mean, that changes everything for them because they're saving like 20% of the transaction right there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saving money. They are saving money because when they make their transaction, they will get fees, and also I will get fees for doing this.
And then you get instant money, right? Within 30 minutes, you got the money that your
Yeah,
client paid.
yeah. I guess you can get instant money. It's not that easy, depending on the currency you're getting paid off. I
Right.
remember this day that I had to wait like 8 hours until
Oh,
my
really?
transaction was complete. Yeah, I mean it was
For Bitcoin?
no, it was day. I was paid in day, and I transferred into USDC.
Which cryptocurrency was it?
Day. It's not a cryptocurrency. It's a safe
Oh,
coin
DAI.
based on the law.
You talking about the stablecoin DAI?
Yeah,
Oh,
DAI.
okay,
Sorry.
DAI. Okay.
Sorry.
Interesting.
We talk about DAI a lot on this podcast, actually.
So explain that a little bit. So you were paid in DAI, and it took 8 hours for you to receive DAI?
No, it took me 8 hours to transform DAI into
Ethereum.
USDC.
Okay, I got you. No, absolutely.
It's just about the amount of transaction that are being done with that 2 coins. So okay,
True.
maybe you have to wait, but you're saving money anyway. So
Yeah, and you
but,
have to,
but the beauty of them using DAI is you're not open to that volatility
sure.
within that 8-hour window, right? It's a stable.
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The cool thing is that you can get paid into safe coins,
Yeah.
and then you can wait until like, okay, I'm going to transfer my money right now, and then
Yeah.
you buy Ethereum
Exactly.
and then you
Yeah.
sell Ethereum instantly.
Yeah.
Right? You maybe you lose money, maybe you earn a bit money, but you're not going to be crushed as if you had that money all the day into your
Yeah.
bank account.
I totally agree. If you run a business, you don't want that volatility, even
Oh,
if it's
no.
going to potentially
Of course
make you
not.
money. You
Of course
you rather stick with
I
the stable coin.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can have a percentage on Ethereum or Bitcoin or these volatility coins.
Yeah.
That's totally up to you. I actually would recommend to just have a small percentage of your money get into these coins. But if you want to pay your employees,
Oh, yeah.
you have to pay in euros here. So
Yeah.
I cannot tell them like, oh, I will send you 1,000 mana tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could, so they will take care of the transactions, but I
So
just can't.
that's a good question. Would you, if you could, I guess you would use cryptocurrencies to pay your employees, as long as they believe in this whole architecture, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. They have to believe in it. Not
Yeah,
exactly.
I can tell you, not all my designers believe in crypto, for example. So it's not that they are skeptical; it's that they still don't trust the technology yet because they
For sure.
see it as something for speculation or and brokers.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we have to change, right? Is people is seen only for brokers or hackers or
Yeah.
that can be used for anyone and for anything.
No, that's interesting. I think, yeah, I mean, receiving DAI and then having to convert DAI into USD or Euro, it is a long process. I mean, but nonetheless, if your client pays you in DAI, you got paid, right? It's just,
Yeah, of course.
it takes you a while to convert that into,
It's still better than what you said earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
A fiat transaction.
because that takes several days.
Yeah.
And even then, they might even screw it up, which I've experienced before. You send $10,000 and your client ends up receiving $9,500. It's like, where the hell did the rest of the money go? And then the
Yeah.
banks are like taking all these fees for no reason. They're converting into another currency just because that's what the bank does, and
Yeah.
and it's just a pain in the ass, and it delays things for several weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's no way to like run a worldwide business like the one you're running, Daniel. So I think there's obviously a lot of potential in kind of what we're doing. It's to me, it's like really exciting. It has like our attention almost on a daily basis, kind of like what's going on with the crypto world.
Yeah.
And with DAI, I think DAI really has our attention because there's this company called Compound.finance, and you can earn, close to like 15% interest on your DAI. Are you aware of that, Daniel?
No, I was not.
Well, I'll send you a link that way, just so you can look at it. It doesn't help us anything, but it at least exposes you to what they're doing. But the point here is, if you stake your DAI in Compound Finance, that DAI gets converted into a different cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency it accrues interest over time, and so it's the same premise of just what cryptocurrency is supposed to be. If we're our own bank, a bank uses our money and they loan that out and make interest, and they pay you, let's say, 0.1%. But if we're our own bank, then we have that same ability to do with our money. And so that's what Compound Finance is doing, is that if you stake your DAI, they pay you the 15%, and then they loan it out for, let's say, 17%. So they make the difference in that kind of transaction, but we're making 15% of our money versus the 0.1%, that we're getting from our bank if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And so that's why it has me so fascinated, because with that functionality, it renders banks like absolutely useless. There is no reason to be using traditional banking infrastructure anymore because of that. And on top of that, it is completely decentralized. The only fear here is that the smart contracts they're using to perform this functionality, they're built by humans. right? Humans are flawed. They make
Yeah.
mistakes, right? They can be compromised. But there's another company who you can pay, let's say 1% of your earnings, and they'll insure you the money that you're staking. So if the smart contract gets compromised, then you don't lose any money because you're paying for the service of insurance. So there's that other aspect, but that's what fascinates me the most about programmable money is that we have all these abilities and we're early on. Like it's to me is amazing.
But that's the fear, I guess, because we're so early. It's hard to build trust.
Yeah,
in
for
such
sure.
a thing
That's the thing.
in this ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like that video that we saw where the guy was like, "Well, what's the internet or what's an email and why do we have to? Well, what's the @ sign? Like, what does that mean?"
You mean like in the 90s when
in the
people were
90s.
just now figuring out what the internet was?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And it's like why should I send you an email when I can just call you? And which is foreign to us these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, using a banking infrastructure is going to be like, using a horse and buggy to travel around.
Well, I don't know. I think banks have a lot of power. They can try to shift and become something different. That we can.
True, that's true. They could be.
I don't think they're going to disappear. I think they
True.
will.
That's a good point.
Different.
That's a good point.
They all become their own crypto, and they imagine a future where every bank creates their own coin, and what's the difference between that?
That's true. That's true because, when you think about us becoming our own bank, that means that we have to protect our own private keys.
Yeah.
And you can't really trust, 7 billion people to do a good job protecting their own private keys. So that probably isn't the best infrastructure to create a society on where everyone is fighting for their own, security. So I think you're right. I think potentially banks could convert their kind of systems and be the custodial services with the same kind of like trust that we have in banks today. But in this case, it's crypto. And at this point, people won't have to know what a blockchain is. And
yeah, that's the thing. They will evolve. They will use the blockchain, and people will not even know that they're using the blockchain.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah, for example, a lot of people I know, they keep their ledger into a bank safe.
Yeah, that's true.
You're trusted banks to save our stuff. Like the most important stuff should be in your bank in a safe, right?
Yeah.
So probably we're going that way where banks stop being the big guys who lend money and are the guys who protect your money to not be stolen, or I don't know, giving you different services with your crypto, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Different.
That's true. That's true. I think you're absolutely right. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to have people trust themselves to protect their own money. So I think there's always going to be a use for a bank, but I think the value that cryptocurrencies bring is that the monetary policy is no longer governed by banks, and it creates a level playing field for everybody.
By banks and the state.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the kind of thing that I see. Maybe we see in the future that every country makes their own cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I think we have economic battle or something between crypto and value.
Yep.
Another picture that I see is that maybe banks merge with the state in a way to save like the last remain of power they could have.
Yeah.
And because there are a lot of states that still have their own banking system being public instead of being private, and maybe that's a way for this to go on. I'm not sure. What I'm sure is that the same way we don't protect ourselves and we have police and we trust the police to protect ourselves.
True.
We will do the same with banks or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that all the time, right? Like how the individual is going to be kind of in control of this money, and how banks are not necessarily going to be, having that power that they used to have, and how humans kind of control or the individuals now programming how money's going to work, and that the slow erosion of banks and how they operate today is going to change in a way where it's more aligned to what the population actually needs instead of being manipulated by the banks. So I mean, I think this we're headed in the positive direction, and I'm just personally I'm glad that I can see this happening. You know, kind of like I didn't get to see the internet develop because we were too young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting times. For me, for example, for me, it's very exciting because VR is gonna hit hard when it
Yeah.
hits. Like, it brings me the same feelings that I had when I started playing online games like World of Warcraft. It has this powerful grip that gets you to dig more and stand to learn more. And so I think having the same feeling and seeing how World of Warcraft is now today, or how the game industry evolved as it is today. For example, when I was a kid, I used to remember, oh, would it be cool if we could like be professional video game players,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like, I wish I get paid for playing an arena between my friends, right? And then a few years later, you was starting to see like
That's
competitive
exactly what
players,
happened.
That's
and
exactly
then
what I
League of Legends. Yeah, yeah, then
when
League
I
of
went.
Legends
Yeah.
build this entire industry of esports that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just still growing and growing and growing. Is going to take over regular sports.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
having the same gut feeling about VR, I just hold into that. Like when you see people playing, and when you see, for example, no, I watch this YouTube channel that is called Seymour, and it's basically a guy who interviews people in VR chat. And you can see that people who is playing VR chat, a lot of people is the only way they can communicate, because maybe they are at their houses and they cannot move.
I think we saw
So
one of those videos, right?
Yeah.
Where this
yeah,
guy,
yeah, the guy is pretty cool.
As a
yeah,
YouTuber,
he interviews people, and so I think the video that we saw was like he went to like a baptism, and people were getting baptized in
Yeah,
virtual reality.
yeah, it was a pastor who was
Yeah.
like, there was like a pool in the virtual world,
Yeah,
and people would actually stand in the water. He performed like a normal
Yeah.
baptism,
Yeah.
but virtually.
that's
And
funny.
I saw that video because the banana that jumps.
The banana, yeah. That's it.
See, yeah, those avatars. That's something very because that's unique to VR chat. Yeah, how
Yeah.
everyone has their own unique looking avatar.
Yeah,
It adds that what you said, that personal.
that uniqueness,
Yeah, that I think what
the identity, right?
the Decentraland is kind of lacking right now because it's such
Yeah.
early stages. But
So
everyone needs that ability to create their own, unique.
I'm curious, Daniel. Being in the '80s, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think is needed from like maybe the hardware perspective for VR to really take off to be mainstream, where you can pretty much predict that, kind of like there's an Xbox in almost every house or PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
You can predict that there's at least one VR headset in every home. Like what's left to create or build or make cheaper?
Well, I would not compare VR with consoles. I would compare it with PCs, because
right. Okay.
in my opinion, what really made mainstream gameplay was PCs, not
True.
consoles.
True.
Because you had the internet in the PC, and then we still keep seeing that, right? There is still a lot of stuff that is going to be happening. I think what we are missing is that the VR has more and more content and more software to be used into VR.
The killer
For
app.
example, yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that in the future, instead of using Maya or Blender,
Sure.
we will be using something in 3D,
Sure.
some 3D software with VR headsets, and that will be more faster, will be more stressful than using it just a regular screen.
Sure.
I think we're missing software that can be used inside of it, not just games on top of games.
Interesting.
Also, I think what needs to be done is like it needs to be cheaper. It needs to be easier to get the break into Oculus. For example, the Oculus Quest is actually pretty cheap. It's it's 150 euros or something.
Oh, really? Is the Oculus Quest the one where it doesn't have that cord anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's only 150 bucks.
He's at
Yeah,
euros.
Oh, 100
exactly. I
euros.
mean, now 2 years ago, you will say, "Oh, that's 1,000 euros." I
It's
just
true.
can't afford that. I just don't want to afford it. But
Interesting.
when you lower down the price, it starts to be more appealing. Like, oh, maybe I should try this. They're becoming cheaper.
Interesting.
So it's got to follow like Moore's law's principle, essentially. Like over
Mm.
time,
Yeah,
it's gonna keep.
exactly. Over time, price will become cheaper. The device will become lighter. We
Yeah.
will be seeing more add-ons to the headset, like maybe gloves, maybe some kind of suit. But it has to still to develop because I don't see anyone walking around with the Oculus Quest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe something like what Elon Musk was working on, Neuralink, some type of
Oh.
merger with that technology.
that
Yeah.
shit is.
Yeah, can you imagine, Daniel, that we have to have like surgery on our brains in order to interface with like a maybe augmented reality, heads up display?
Yeah.
That will bring a new question into the table, right? Like, could you replicate yourself into another person
Oh
or try
yeah.
to hack the reality of another person? That's it.
Dude.
Like,
Dude.
imagine you could be able to manipulate the reality of someone else by this device, and they will feel like I don't know, they have to have immense diarrhea, and when you get this virus, you just stop going to the bathroom, or having this creepiest,
Or add a hallucination, right? I can send you a hallucination that there's like a leprechaun
exactly,
running around.
or where do we draw the limit? Like, could I go to your self and watch and see a streaming of your life, like
Yeah.
real streaming of your life, or uh, where the thing
Could you
is,
imagine that?
it can bring a new level of connection with people. Like,
Could you imagine if like everyone could tune in to like Justin Bieber's life or something? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Everyone
yeah,
could
dude,
just
that'd
like a
be
celebrity's life,
yeah,
and
but
you get to
that
watch
will be
their
the thing
perspective.
that eventually, what is you and what are you? Are you a human, or are you a presence that is
Yeah.
watching humans play, or are you a person that doesn't like his body or his vessel and is looking for stuff to do, or
Yeah.
uh,
I haven't thought about
these
that.
kind of things. These kind of things start to be more,
Important
philosophical.
and plausible.
than anything else.
Yeah, like
Yeah, but we are very close. Like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's the scary thing, because imagine a government could hack a million people, or
Dude.
someone could hack a million people and order them to kill someone. How can we prevent that from happening if
It's
it
like
happens in
it's like the
our brain?
movie Kingsman.
I haven't seen that
Right.
Oh, dude.
one. Sorry, well,
Kingsman-
It's
I
a
miss
huge
out
amount
so
of
much.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah?
So real quick, Kingsman was this billionaire. He gives everybody a cell phone.
Okay.
And in that cell phone is a little SIM card that emits a frequency sound that inhibits the brain's something about violence. Like you become very violent, and it inhibits that violence resistance.
Oh, okay.
And so and it's completely free. So he gave everybody this free SIM, free internet for the entire world, right? So of course everybody wants it, right? But then he activates that switch, emits that sound wave, and everybody becomes violent with each other.
They want to kill each
They
other.
want to kill each other.
Oh, wow.
And he's doing that benevolently.
Uh-huh.
And the reason is because he understands humans are destroying the planet, and the only way to stop the destruction of the planet is to kill the humans.
Yeah.
But you should watch the movie. It's a great.
Well, I
movie.
will now.
Yeah.
Well, that's what everyone thinks is going to happen when artificial intelligence comes in, right?
Oh, for sure.
Some way they'll hack into the system and
But that's a good.
find a way to get rid of us.
Oh man, having that Neuralink. What if somebody gets hacked, and what if the government hacks millions of these people? And
Yeah.
man, that's.
I mean, for sure, if Neuralink becomes a thing, it would have, like I said, I think the big barrier to virtual reality is that actual headset.
yeah.
A lot of people, like, you're not going to walk around with that. Google tried with, like, the Google glasses, right?
Right.
That was, like, a
Yeah.
huge failure.
That's true.
But if this thing is built into your natural interface, your I
Your
don't know.
brain.
Maybe when you're born, you're gonna have to implant every baby with this thing. You
Huh.
know?
Well,
Dude,
hopefully not.
yeah.
No.
Can you imagine
I
like
don't.
doing?
The thing is, we will stop being individuals, but we will stop thinking as hives or something like that. I mean, we are already having hive thinking.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Social
True.
I'm not sure
networking.
if you guys believe in hive thinking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The thing is, we will be connecting with people in different ways in that we cannot even imagine yet. So I'm not sure if it's. I mean, it's exciting, but could be also very bad
Damaging.
for us in the future.
yeah.
Yes,
Or
yes.
this like
I'm not a believer that the IA will kill us or anything like that.
no.
Hmm.
Of course not. I mean, we're all thinking that we are going to die and we are on the
It's
edge of
true.
dying and all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
It's true.
I guess it's
Well, Elon's solution to artificial intelligence and its potential to maybe destroy humans is if we interface, we interlink ourselves with the AI will have less incentive to get rid of us. So that's his premise to Neuralink. Now, the AI, manifests itself and decide to get rid of humans. Is there a chance? Yeah, there's a chance. Is it probable? Who knows? But
yeah,
I think there are ways where AI could affect reality in ways that we don't really think about. Like typically you think of
of
like
course.
Terminator, but what I think is more threatening is the ability to manipulate like a video,
Like deepfakes?
like a deep fake.
Yeah.
You can have a deep fake of the president of the United States, going after North Korea, and that
Yeah.
starts World War III right there. And even though it came from a computer program,
Yeah.
so I think that's where the threat is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, the thing is, when we see this new technology or when we see these new things, we tend to think about the bad
Yeah,
things that can happen with them. And I totally agree that they can be daunting, and I think I can be totally changing
yeah.
again the history of humans. But
See, here's where I'm concerned the most is that Elon is obviously the closest guy to Neuralink, and he's got the resources to even develop artificial intelligence.
yeah,
And being that close to that new cutting edge technology, and him being very concerned to where he's like actively talking about it and warning people, that concerns me
Yeah.
because
of course,
it's like the closest analogy that I can think of is like saying when you're driving a car behind somebody and that guy suddenly stops, right? You see the brake lights turn on and it's screeching stop. You have to assume there's something in front of that vehicle that is encouraging this guy to stop extremely fast. So it's like Elon, he's the guy in the front vehicle, and if he's seeing something where he's braking his car, and then he's warning everybody else, that is why I'm concerned. I have to like
yeah, of
take
course.
take his word
Elon
for it.
Musk is a brilliant guy. We cannot ignore him or ignore
Yeah.
his thoughts. I'm sure I mean, we are in front of regular people in things when it comes to technology, but he is even more in front of us.
True.
I'm sure he knows way more stuff that we guys do. So yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe we are screwed and we have to.
Then
I
we
don't
all
know.
have to get a Neuralink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah.
Actually, I really hope not.
Yeah, I don't think if we have to, that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
If we have to,
Have
but
to what?
have to actually get a Neuralink in
Oh.
order to protect ourselves. But I think obviously we're far away from that.
Yeah.
But think about it, if you extrapolate this current trajectory in technology, and let's say 100 years from now, where you kind of teleport 100 years from now, and you see everybody with a Neuralink, that is kind of concerning because that is the way humans survive 100 years from now. That's kind of scary.
Oh yes. The thing is, I'm not sure where we'll be in 100 years from now. I hope we will have at least another planet to be in. That's
True.
one of my main ideas. Uh, the thing is about AI. We think that it's going to be like Terminator, that it's going to spread everywhere and it's going to take over the machines. That's maybe something that can happen. I mean, it can happen, but I also think that maybe we should try to strive to have individuals IAs for individual purposes instead of having a massive thing that keeps the knowledge of everything in control.
Yeah.
The same way we divide the power of the state into different parts.
Mm.
For example, in Spain we have the defense, the judge, and then there's a political party. So there's three legs on the state, and they operate individually, not having to interfere between each other. Instead of trying to merge everything in every EAA, that we can trying to have like a medical IA that can only improve the human body, for example, or that can be applied into this different stuff, but not mixing them.
Sure.
That's really something that we can do, and we should. Decentralization is also a good thing for AI, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Decentralization of kind of AI. Have you happened to watch the show Silicon Valley, Daniel?
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
so man, you gotta watch it. But on there, they talk about an AI and on a decentralized network.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was thinking about. All these fears that we have, if there is a Neuralink future, the possibility of it getting hacked into.
Yeah.
Isn't that, if blockchain gets to its mature state where all the data is distributed and there's no longer that possibility of it being breached, is that the solution to these problems?
Well, I think the fact that there are some blockchains that you cannot hack, like Bitcoin, that is independent of what you can do with Neuralink. Like Neuralink is a direct brain interface.
Yeah.
And that direct brain interface could be compromised by some hacker who potentially, manipulates the code that affects what it's interfacing.
Where does that code exist for that brain interface?
Well, the code it could exist within the little module behind your ear, but it also could exist on a decentralized network. So it's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
regardless of the fears, like you said, this is the trajectory we're heading towards.
Yeah. So it's like, what are the mitigating factors we can do now to prevent, an AI from getting rampant, right? To lose control of that.
I guess in Elon's mind, it's regulation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if his technology is progressing at such a breakneck speed, there's not enough people out there like evaluating whether or not we should slow down.
Yeah.
And
That's the thing. The people who regulate the stuff, they are not pioneers.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's true.
It's going to be impossible to try and explain to them.
It's like we've been wanting our United States government to regulate cryptocurrencies for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And just now they're starting to look into it because of Libra and Facebook.
Yeah.
So they're not going to look at brain interfaces or AI anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will be looking into it once Elon Musk releases it.
Yeah,
Like
that's true. That's a good point.
Happens.
Yeah, that's a good
Something
point.
big happening anytime. I mean, the thing is, people who regulate, they slow things down, and that's their job. They have to slow things down, and they are not up to date with things. They're in Spain. There is nothing written about cryptocurrencies now, but
Yeah.
maybe in the future they will be, because they see value on seeing it. It will depend on every country, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the danger of regulation is you're not going to be competitive with other nations, right? When it comes
That's
to
true.
innovation.
Yeah,
So-
I guess regulations will bring some kind of human touch to things. Like probably if this regulated, is because it's dangerous to somebody else. Like for example, now we have these electrical scooters that 2 years ago didn't even exist in the cities, right?
Mhm.
Well, now that people is starting to get bumped into each other, the government comes and says like, okay, these are the rules. Please follow them to prevent people to be killed on the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess this is what's going to happen with all with any kind of technology, that when they see that it's like something that can harm or kill or be dangerous, that's when they step in and like, okay, these are the rules. The problem is that the people who set up the rules usually don't understand what
Absolutely.
they are using. Like,
Yeah, it's
mm,
like we were listening to the conference, or not the conference, but the hearing from our government talking to Facebook and Libra and all that. And these guys, they don't understand not the first thing about blockchain. And so how can we ever expect them to regulate anything when they don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
And especially artificial intelligence is probably way more complicated than blockchain is. And to expect them to regulate something like that, it's not going to
yeah,
happen.
that's the thing. Usually, governments are made of old folks
Yeah,
that they
that's
have
right.
been sitting there for 50 years, and they just
That's
know
true. They're
they
still
do.
wondering why we're using email, right?
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
how
I'm
old they
not
are.
against using email or using post. That's totally fine. The thing is that people who should be up to what is going on in the world, they are not up to it.
Yeah,
Like, most of them will not know how to open. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It's like
Uh,
I think the best way to regulate, if at all, is probably not through the government. It's probably through self-regulation, and they probably just set
yeah,
standards like, hey, let's if we build AI, let's try to build it in a way where it actually doesn't destroy humans, right? I don't know
yeah,
how
I
that would
think
look
so.
like.
Yeah, I think so. The thing is, the government's been so old is because we have been changing um, our structure of our society structure, right? Back in the day, the old folk was the wiser and was the most, uh, they have wisdom, and the
Yeah.
wisdom was
Yeah,
the power, and that's why
that's true.
everyone trusted
That's
them,
true.
right? The thing is, now the guys who are in the government, they are not wise people. They
That's
are
true.
people who are there that they were wise in the world before, right? 50 years ago, without the internet, they were still wise. But now, this technology is catching up, is changing the society, but the society structure is not changing. We're still trusting old people that have not
Absolutely.
keep up to the day-to-day knowledge. So they're making decisions for the old world to be applied in the new world, and that's what is not working.
Yeah.
Uh, we should be seeing more young people into politics, or just to try to make a break, and try to have some people who is actually have some wisdom about the internet or about virtual reality or about all this new stuff that is going to happen, or is that it's already happening, but we are not seeing that because people still trust the old folk, even if they are not prepared or
That
they just don't care.
that is such a good way to describe it. It's like, back in the day, the old people had all the wisdom,
Yeah.
and
Of
therefore
course.
they were the ones who were
Accrued through experience,
accrued through
essentially.
experience,
Yeah.
and their experience was valuable because they were old,
Yeah.
and their experience probably mimics the experiences of the rest of the planet, and therefore it was valuable to listen to them.
Yeah.
But now, because we have such a great access to information and the ability to build new things like Neuralink and going to Mars and all that, we're going on Mars on our own now, right? We're not depending on governments to go to Mars, right? So I think we have to figure out a way to bring some kind of wisdom into government so that we can start doing things a little bit faster, a little bit more up to date, instead of relying on 19th century ideology.
Uh-huh.
So
Exactly.
I think we got a long way to go. I mean, we're not even like talking about that, right?
No.
I don't know. I think we'll have to wait until the thing. I have this feeling about our age people. We have this block of this demographical block, right?
Yeah,
Back in the day, the life of pyramid life, I was thinking it was like this. So
yeah,
back here were all the kids, and here were only people like this, right?
yep,
Now in developed countries, you don't see a triangle anymore. You see like a square, or maybe even an inverted triangle. So it means that the old folks will have always more power to decide on top of the young people. So
hmm,
I think they're blocking us to developing new technologies, new ideas, new. It's just a demographical block. If you
Sure.
remove these people from the equation, I think we will be seeing even more and more technology going on. So I don't think it's a bad idea, but because maybe having that demographic block, we can block ourselves from destroying us.
Yeah.
But I think we all have this sensation that we want to do something to change, but we are always being blocked by the elders.
That's
No
right.
matter how old you get, like I'm almost 28, 9, and I still feel like I have to get passed by someone older
Yeah. That's true.
opinions, right? So the thing is, our generation is blocked by the older demographic generation. Like
That's so
it's a
true.
huge chunk. The baby boomers are a huge chunk, so they are going to be there for a long time, and until they even start dying or even start like trying to adapt slowly, we always have this workout in our lives.
Yeah. No, I mean, just to touch a little bit about what you're talking about is the older generation kind of blocking new generation thinking
Yeah,
is you know, like in the United States, we're having a little bit of a problem, right? Some call it a gun problem, other people call it a brain problem, right? It doesn't matter.
yeah.
From an outside perspective, since you live in Spain, how do you view what's going on in the United States in terms of like mass shootings and all that? I'm just curious
To
because
be honest,
you
they
hear about it
don't.
too, right?
What?
You
Yeah.
yeah,
I
you hear.
heard about it too. I'm not. I don't usually watch TV or anything, but I on Twitter you can see this
It's
going
on the
on.
internet, right?
Yeah. The thing is, in Spain, in the TV on Spain, they don't even show that. We have other problems. We have political problems that they show. We have the Catalonian problem they show. So I guess in every country they show their own problems and they magnify them. So you only pay attention to that small region of the world.
Sure.
Uh, what's going on in US is just, I mean, you should look up to it. Like this is, I mean, just to be sure that we're talking the same thing. It's like mass shoot is happening like almost every week. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a huge problem. I mean, uh, the thing is you're bringing fear into people's lives because eventually people will just not leave their houses or being afraid of being mass shoot or anything.
Sure.
I think there should be some kind of regulation, but uh, I don't know, man. It's
So
a
do
Yeah,
you?
it's a tough question to
No, yeah,
answer
yeah.
for
It's
sure.
it's
tough
tough.
question.
It's I don't expect you to solve it, but what do you? So I mean, obviously we hear about it because we're in the United States, right? And you know the common thing is it's almost happening every single week, almost, right?
Yeah.
So is it getting coverage in Spain? Like, is it like a topic on on day-to-day subjects over there, or is it just like something that's not happening here, we don't really care about it?
I mean, they just don't talk about it that much.
Okay.
Maybe just
Okay.
a short thing that they show, or maybe they don't even show.
But
Uh, Usually, what they talk about is about politics because we have been having like an election
Yep.
year or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe we will repeat the election again, so that's what it's more people is talking about.
Sure. Sure.
There are also things that are happening, like a couple of weeks ago, the Canary Island was set on fire, for example.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are different problems, and I guess they try to always talk about regional problems. I guess in France they also talk about France problems, but I don't hear
Sure.
about it
Sure.
that much.
Yeah, I was just
Uh,
curious to see if like the world had a strong opinion on gun regulation, and I was wondering like
in
what that
Europe,
opinion
they
was.
will tell you that just regulate it, just don't allow everybody to just grab a gun whatever you want or what. Just but I mean that's my European view of
Sure.
things,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
You cannot see people having guns on the streets here. Like it's not something normal. If you saw someone with a gun, you would just step to the other street or something like that.
So I'll ask you another weird question.
Yeah,
So like you're saying in Spain, there isn't a whole lot of guns, right?
Yeah.
Civilian
Oh,
population.
I don't mean that they are not guns. I mean people is not showing them in the streets because
Sure,
people have a huge amount of guns. Our country is a very bellical country. We have been in war forever,
sure. Yeah, of
and
course.
there's around almost how 100. I mean, we had a civil war,
Yep, yep.
right? A lot of people still have guns from that civil war kept under their houses. Are being is the family heritage that you get when
Sure.
your grandmother died or something like that. So people have guns, but they don't just go on the street with them
Yeah, no,
and show.
absolutely. So,
So it's something that you only use for hunt and don't how to say
Like used for
nobody will teach
protection.
you to use it. Like
Yeah.
so okay, so let me throw you out some numbers. There's
yeah,
roughly 300 million Americans, and there's
okay.
more than 300 million guns in America.
Oh,
Does that shock you, or is that on par with what Spain might have, a 1-to-1 ratio?
no idea how it was the ratio here, but 101. I mean, not it doesn't really shock me. Like
Okay,
because there's always going to be people who have huge amount of collections.
sure,
There's always
sure.
going to be people that maybe have a gun because their parents gave them because you know I don't think the amount of guns is a relevant
Yeah, and
debate
that's sort of why
number.
why I asked the question is that it could be more of an environmental thing, a mental thing, that there's these events, these mass shootings, and so in other countries there's probably an equal amount of guns, but the civilians are not shooting at each other because they're angry, right? So
Yeah, of course not.
it is something in America. It is either the environment, the ideologies, whatever it is.
It's almost like part of our culture in a way. The
Yeah,
Yeah,
ideology of it, you
yeah,
know.
it's all about education,
Yeah.
right? My father told me how to shoot a gun, or also told me how to shoot a shotgun, but that doesn't mean I'm going to grab it and go to
yeah,
my,
Exactly.
for
you
sure.
know, kill anybody. He showed me like,
To
be
respect it,
careful. This is something you should respect. I'm teaching you just in case one in the future you have to use it
for
for
sure.
whatever reason. I mean, you should know how to use a gun just in case.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
it doesn't mean that you have to go and shoot anybody.
Yeah,
It's about education, right? It's just a tool, and you should only use it when you're in danger or if you want to go hunting or something like that. But it's not something to shoot people. For example, one of the things that people say in Spain is that they got shot by a friend, for example, and
hmm
that's imagine you are hunting and then you shot and you miss the bullet and you hit a friend,
sure,
right?
sure.
So most of people, for example, people of my father age have scars or have some kind of pain
Oh, interesting.
uh, from these things, and so I think you learn like okay, he has a huge scar here because
Yeah,
he missed a shot, so this is something that can hurt people. This is not something good, it's not education, man.
yeah.
That's the key point.
So what do you think, Will? Like,
Well,
what do you think is causing this?
I don't know. I think I think I agree with Daniel. I don't think it's so much of a gun problem. I don't think that too many guns is the problem. I think my only thing, I like guns. I don't really care for them. Like I'm not in love with these guns that I want to keep them. But what I do believe is a magazine that's over, let's say, a 30-round magazine. Like, why does that need to exist? Or a semi-automatic rifle? Like, what's the point of that? So that's kind of where I stand in kind of doing something about the issue that we have in the United States. But I don't think guns are the problem. I think it's more of an environmental effect that America creates on people. Kind of the ideologies, like always competing with the Joneses. You're always, no matter how rich you are, you're always going to be less rich than the next guy. Like it's just how it is, and I think that's having a mental effect on people, and they're reacting in the way that they're reacting because they can't really do much about it. And just yesterday, I was on Twitter and I stumbled across this video with this lady walking by this family, two parents, a man and a female, and each parent had a little kid, a little toddler walking with them. This lady walks by them and stabs these kids in the face.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So this didn't happen in the United States. It happened in Georgia, the country. And so there's these crazy people out there. No matter what, whether they have a knife or a gun, they're equally as as crazy, right?
But I guess the argument is, are they equally as deadly?
Yeah, that's
a knife
what
or a
I'm
gun.
saying. If you give this lady a 30-round magazine, she's not stabbing 2 kids. She's killing at least 10 people.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's a tough topic.
Yeah. No, I was just curious from an outsider's perspective. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the same thing we're seeing? Things like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, I would think it twice depending if I had to go to US.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not sure exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, I know there are some people that will have to think it twice, like, oh, there's mass shooting happening in this state, and I have to go to work there.
Huh.
Maybe
That's
you will think it twice to go in there. You don't want to get killed or anything.
Yeah, it's like us traveling to Venezuela or Brazil or
Right, exactly.
Cuba. It's like
Or North Korea, right?
or North Korea. Yeah, that's crazy that we become something like that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen anywhere. Like in Spain, we have this terrorist party
That's
back
true.
in the day,
That's true.
and people didn't came here because they were afraid. So it
Yeah.
can happen, and it can also be solved. But
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah.
these mass shootings are rare, but like you could go to Spain, you can be on a train and the train blows up because of a terrorist attack. Like there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So on
It'll happen everywhere.
that positive note, I know Daniel, you're very busy. You're at the office. I'm assuming you're getting some stuff done. So let's let you.
Yeah, I like to be here. Like I need to come here just to get the stuff done and keep working. Because I'm not sure if you guys know this, but if you stop working, later on it becomes more harder
to restart for sure.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. But no, we appreciate you joining us. I mean, I thought this conversation was fantastic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We would love to have you back on, especially once Decentraland starts picking up and we start making more stuff on there.
Yeah, of course.
So
we have good ideas for the game jam. I'm not sure you guys have.
Yes, yeah. So we're coming up with our own ideas for Game Jam. We'll definitely see you out there. Is there anything you want to kind of tell the audience? Let's Twitter, Instagram, anything that they can reach you by.
Oh, you can guys follow us at Polygonal Mind.
Polygonal Mind.
Yeah, just follow the studio. We are releasing a lot of information. Yesterday we released Maya tutorial for beginners. The thing is we're documenting everything we do, and we will be releasing it later on to teach people to see what things we're learning. We want to show that.
So Maya, what about Blender? Do you recommend people learn Blender as well?
Oh,
Here we go.
I will not recommend Blender myself.
Okay.
I tried it, but I couldn't get the grip on it because for me Maya is very easy, it's very visually appealing.
Okay.
Looks a lot like Photoshop in a sense, so it's very intuitive. And changing from to Blender is not as intuitive working for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you learn Maya, you can also get hired by another game development studio because it is still an industry standard. So
Interesting.
Okay. For someone who wants to learn, maybe you should pick up Maya if you want to get a job, basically.
No, that's good because
it doesn't matter if you're good in Blender. If the studio still uses Maya because they develop their own tool for something, you will have to learn Maya.
Sure.
Hey, Daniel, just a question from somebody who has no experience in 3D design, but if you're interested, do you need to have like a natural artistic ability to like say somebody who isn't able to create good illustrations on pen and paper. Does that translate to the 3D modeling space as well? Like that lack of creativity?
I'm not a very good drawer
Okay.
myself. I do sketches. Like most of my sketches are like very silly or are try to
Like come up with
Convey an
ideas.
idea.
Yeah.
yeah. But as drawing 3D art is a skill. This is a very hard skill that you will have to invest a huge amount of hours to have something.
Sure.
If you have like a visual mind like mine, you will take less time to master this skill. Uh, it's all about the time you put into the work.
Yeah.
There's no secret into it. If you're talented, you will get there faster. If you're not talented, you will get there later on, but you will get there. Uh, I will say that, for example, as an employer, I will look into people that are not like high skill masters and they have other social skills. They are
Mm,
they are not top people, but they can communicate into a team.
Hmm.
For an
yeah.
employer, that's more valuable than someone who is like huge amount of talent but cannot talk with him or cannot give feedback because he can get offended or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm.
So it's like programming, man. It's exactly the same. You have to put time into it, a huge amount of hours into it,
Yep.
and then more hours into it, and then more hours, and
Yeah.
eventually you have something.
Mm.
Yeah, because for the game jam, I mean, we're gonna have to do some custom 3D assets, and we're gonna have to learn one of these programs and to contribute. But yeah,
They go with something easy. For me, I will tell you that Maya is very easy for me, but I know Blender is free
yeah,
for everybody to use. Uh, but if I was learning, like if I was starting again, I will probably learn again Maya with a student license, which is free and you can use
Oh, I
just for
see.
learning.
Yeah,
So you don't have to pay Maya to learn it,
sure.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Uh, but I will also have an eye on Blender to just in case
Sure.
things can change. For example, when I was starting with Sustan Paint, there was not even a thing, and now it's a industry standard. You have to know and you have to be able to be fluent in it. So it's something that can change over time.
Right, right. Okay, well that's good information.
It's encouraging to me.
Yeah.
We did a challenge like a few weeks back amongst like the three of us who were working on our games
Yeah.
to see like which one of us is more creative on pen and paper, right? Like we
Right.
just came up with an idea like, all right, we got 30 seconds to draw like a robot
Yeah.
licking an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
So we did it.
Oh yeah, that's actually good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we determine which one of us is like the most artistically creative. So
Yeah.
like who gets the role? Who's gonna learn how to become a 3D artist?
Right.
I think all of us equally are
Yeah,
as
we
bad.
weren't that good.
Yeah, so but that's why I asked the
you guys
question.
should get a designer on your team.
Yeah, we do need one for sure.
That's the easy route. Just hire somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. All right, Daniel.
Another thing I would like to tell you is that we are always looking for more work. So if there is always listening,
Oh, for sure. What's the best way to contact you? Is it just Polygonal Mind on Twitter?
yeah, you can contact us on Twitter or drop us a line into our website, the spreadsheet.
Okay. No, excellent.
It's pretty easy to find us. Just at Polygonal Mind, and we're very active in Twitter, so we will see it for sure.
Yeah, so if anyone needs digital work, 3D assets, go to polygonalmind.com or contact them through Twitter at polygonalmind, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out with any of that stuff that you might need. Especially for us, we need some work for Decentraland. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
We might be getting access to a large set of parcels, and we won't be able to do all that on our own. So you'll be probably hearing from us, Daniel.
Nice.
All right. Thank you for coming, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.